This is the Aftermarket Radio Network. It's your Weekly Blitz with Chris, keeping you in the game.
Coming to you from the crossroads of industry knowledge and business innovation, this is the Weekly Blitz hosted by me, Coach Chris Cotton from AutoFix-Auto Coaching. The Weekly Blitz is the show that supercharges your auto repair business knowledge, helping you navigate the labyrinth of the automotive world, giving you the tools and the tips you need to steer your business to success. Each week, we deliver an episode jam-packed with insider know-how, industry developments, practical business strategy, and surprising things you didn't know you didn't know. The Weekly Blitz is brought to you by Shop Marketing Pros. And surprisingly enough, this week's episode topic was suggested by Brian Walker from Shop Marketing Pros. He was doing research for a blog article he's writing about, which was KPIs. And after we got done talking about it, he said, you know what, that'd make a great podcast episode for you. And so here we are. To learn more about Shop Marketing Pros top tier marketing for top tier shops, see their link in the show notes or go to shopmarketingpros.com/Chris. Now, whether you're a seasoned veteran or a starter in the game, this podcast is your owner's manual to running a successful independent auto repair shop. Now, strap yourselves in, turn the key, and let's hit the gas. Like I said earlier, Brian was doing research for a blog article, and he suggested this topic. And again, I talk about this at the end of the show. I would love to hear from you. What kind of topics would you like to hear about? I would always rather make content for you than at you. Hopefully you understand what that means. So Brian shot me a text and he said, Chris, tell me more about the average estimate KPI, why it's important, and your thoughts on that. So we had the interchange, and I'm going to walk you through it. We have what's called a profit gateway where our clients enter their numbers in on a weekly basis. And we have about 21 KPIs that we hard rule, check on, and keep an eye on to see where things are going. Some coaching companies have 65, 70, 80. And to me, that's like a PH level type of KPIs, whereas we're looking at a simple list of KPIs to have the biggest impact on your business. My number one KPI is average estimate. Everything else goes into average estimate and can be tracked to it. Now, we're going to only talk about a couple, 2 or 3 that go into it, but really average estimate can drive labor hours per repair order, productivity, and other things like that. But again, we're going to stick to and stick close to average estimate. Why average estimate? So average estimate, let me just say this. If you have an average repair order goal of $500 and your average estimate is $425, then guess what? You ain't ever going to get there. So we have to make sure that our average estimate is tall enough in order to get us to where we need to be for the average repair order. And I'm going to make this point clear. I need you to understand that I'm not saying we are not digging for dollars. We're not making stuff up. We have honor and integrity. We know how to run our business. There's enough stuff wrong with cars and enough preventative maintenance needed that we don't have to make anything else. So if you're in the industry, know that I'm not pushing you to do something crooked like that. And also, if you're outside of the industry and run across this podcast, I don't want anything in the comments saying, oh, you're a crook, you're a thief, whatever, because I'm not. And I would never suggest that. Again, there's enough stuff on people's vehicles to find, identify, and counsel the client on that we're not digging for dollars. One of the reasons why average estimate is so important and is super important to me, when I had my shop and hired the coaching company to help work with me, we're running 100 plus cars a week. Our average repair order was terrible. I'm actually embarrassed to say this. Our average repair order was in the 200s and fluctuated mainly because we were just pumping cars through. And that doesn't include the tire work, the 2 tire trucks that we had. That's just actually service through the shop. Like most shop owners, my thought was, if I can squeeze more crap through this 2-inch pipe, I'll absolutely make more money. But my coach sat me down and said, Chris, are you tracking what your average estimate is? And I'm like, no. But I'm like, we just need more cars. And I will tell you, typically the answer is never we need more cars, right? We just need to do a better job of what we're doing. It's a whole different podcast though. And so what my coach had me do was start tracking each ticket individually and looking at how much we were writing. At the time, we were writing about $60,000 in unsold work a week, which just boggles the mind. Somewhere between 45 and 60,000. I'm going to call it 50,000 for a quick math, but if we're doing that per week, we were writing $2.6 million a year in work that we weren't selling. So 100%, we didn't need more cars. We need to actually slow down. And if you've listened to some of my other podcasts, I've got one that says slow down to go faster. I'm working with a shop in California right now. They're just full of cars. We're like pulling back the car count so that we can do a better job. Because at this point, we are a McDonald's. We're just doing burgers and fries. We're taking the order. We're doing the customer a real disservice at this point. Again, my coach, we found out on average 50,000 a week in unsold sales. Really, we needed to focus on closing ratio, which we're going to talk about in a minute, and what our average repair order goals and what the average estimate was. So that's my why. That's why average estimate is so important, because 95% of the time when we get a new client, it is because their average estimate is too low. So how does this play into average repair order? First thing I'm going to talk about, we're going to run a little fictitious shop here and talk about it. But first of all, I need you to understand average repair order goals. And again, these are goals. Every shop's different. Your shop may be something. But if somebody says, Chris, here's my numbers, and I look at your average repair order, first thing I'm going to do is look at your labor rate and say, okay, how does that compare to where I think you should be? In my mind, an ideal shop that is doing general repair, tires, state inspections, oil services, smogs, things like that, on average, if we take the top and we take the bottom and squeeze that all in, our average labor hours per repair order should be 3 hours per ticket. And if we're going to a 1-to-1 ratio of labor and parts, then that takes us to 6. Okay, hopefully you understand how I got there. What we want to do in a general repair shop is take your labor rate and multiply that times 6, and that gives us our average repair order goal. And again, so if your average estimate is below that, guess what? We're never getting. So I'm going to step aside because so many of my shops are also Euro shops and so many of my shops are also diesel shops. If we go up into Euro or diesel, that number goes to 4.5 hours per ticket. In all my years of doing this, that's just what I know a healthy shop where they need to be at. If we take that 4.5 labor hours per repair order and double it to 9, then your labor rate times 9 is where you should be in a Euro shop or a diesel shop. Okay. And some of you are like, oh my gosh, Chris, we can't get there. Absolutely. We have shops all across the country that are there. And really, if you think about it, 4 labor hours on a ticket is not that much. And as our labor rate creeps up, we've got shops 180, 200 plus. 4 hours, just the labor side on a 4-hour ticket, 4.5-hour ticket is over $1,000 right now. And it's only getting higher. So in the example that I drew up before I hopped on here, I did $129 an hour for labor rate, which is way low. I don't think we have any clients in the country in Canada that have that low. I should have made it higher, but I didn't. If you're in that area or lower, I would challenge you to look at what your technician pay is plus the tax and benefit load and recalculate it some extra so you can give your people some raises, right? In my example, just a general repair shop, 129 is the labor rate times 6 gives us an average repair order goal of 774. Okay. Now, how does that play in with the closing ratio? The math for the closing ratio, say our average estimate is 1250 and your closing ratio is 50%, then that means your average repair order is going to be 625. So in this example, we're a little light. We need to figure out where we need to go. But what if we were able to hit our target of 65% closing ratio? If we did that, if we take 1250 times 65%, then that would put us at 81250. We're in the ballpark of where our average repair order goal is, and we're good to go. When you're thinking about your shop, why your sales are not good enough, these are the things I want you to think about. What's my average estimate, and what is my average estimate in conjunction with my average repair order goal? And then what's the closing ratio of my service advisors? If you're 65% or better, I think you're in the tops of the industry and you're doing great. If you're below 65%, you got to figure out why and then go from there. Hopefully I've enlightened you to some of these numbers and why. If you need a follow-up, shoot me an email. I truly believe in the power of knowledge and collaboration to drive success. And I trust that the insights we've shared today can empower you to take your auto repair business to the next level. We're incredibly grateful for all of our listeners. Your commitment to learning, growth, and improvement is what keeps us doing what we do. And we never forget that. We also want to thank our incredible sponsor, Shop Marketing Pros, for making the show possible. Their dedication to the success of independent auto repair shops like yours is truly unparalleled. Shop Marketing Pros provides top-tier marketing for top-tier shops just like yours. Remember, success doesn't come to you. It doesn't fall in your lap. You have to go out and get it. It's about making strategic decisions, fostering effective management, and continuously seeking to educate yourself and your team. That's what the Weekly Blitz is all about, and we're committed to being a resource for you every step of the way. Join us next week as we continue to provide actionable insights, expert advice, and real-world stories from the trenches of the auto repair industry. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with fellow shop owners, and leave us a review if you enjoyed today's episode. As always, if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in an upcoming episode, please get in touch. Chris at AutoFix-SOS.com. Your input is what shapes this show, and I super appreciate it. Until next time, this is Chris Cotton signing off. Keep your gears running smoothly, keep learning, and keep growing. Remember, in this business, every day is a chance to get better. Here's to your continued success. As always, it's time to rise and grind. Have a great day, everybody.
You've been listening to the Weekly Blitz with Coach Chris Cotton on the AftermarketRadioNetwork.com. Follow Chris on your favorite podcast listening app. Let him know what you'd like him to cover. His email is in the show notes. Chris is all for advancing the aftermarket.